Welcome to the Survivor to Thriver show with your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Do you feel stuck, silent, and stressed? Is something hurting your heart and soul? Are you burning yourself out? If so, you are in the right place because this is the podcast people from all over the world join in to learn exactly how to stop suffering and start living with inner peace and joy. Let's get started. Hey, so happy to have you back with me today. Last episode, we started to talk about our need for meaning and purpose in our lives, or having a sense of clarity about what our life meaning and purpose is. And this is like such an important issue. I was talking to you about how if you don't have a sense of meaning and purpose in your life, it's so easy for us to get lost. We don't know where we're going. We don't know where we need to be going so that we can live within our peace and joy, so that we can grow deeper in our experience of peace and joy. But here's a problem that I see with this whole issue, that because of this problem that we're going to talk about right now, there's so many people who really struggle to become clear on what their life meaning and purpose is. There are many people who, even though they're feeling that sense of being lost in their lives, even though they have this feeling of discontent in their lives, they're lacking a kind of enthusiasm and zest in life that comes from living in alignment with your life meaning and purpose. They're missing it because they're not living in alignment with their life meaning and purpose. But they're also either not taking action to resolve this issue, or the action they're taking to resolve the issue is not effective. So why is it that so many people are stuck in this situation? That they're struggling to become clear on their life meaning and purpose? Well, okay, so there are actually two problems that I see that I want to talk about. The first problem is that, okay, you have this sense of discontent, you have this sense of, I don't know, what I'm doing with my life, I don't know where it's going, I don't know what it means, I don't know why it's important, I don't know, why I'm important, what's my significance. But you just continue to live with that discontent. You become like conditioned to living with that discontent. A lot of people actually believe that it's completely natural and normal to have that discontent and to just spend your lives with it. Or they're too scared to take the action that is necessary to address that discontent. So they choose to stay in their safety zone of safety, the zone of comfort, rather than deal with the fear of stepping out of the comfort zone and taking bold action so that they can begin to live more in alignment with their life meaning and purpose. And I'll tell you why they're able to ignore this issue, why they're able to make this choice so easily at a level of just living with that discontent. I first learned of this framework of analysis when I was reading Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he talks in his book, one of the habits of highly effective people is their ability to manage their time and their priorities really, really well. And so in that context, he talks about how there's 4 different kinds of tasks or activities that we engage in or we can engage in that take up our time and our attention and our energy and our focus. So imagine like this grid. It's like a 4x4 square, right? There's 4 squares in this grid. And on the horizontal axis, right, it's importance. How important? There's a degree of importance. There's tasks that are important, and then there's tasks that are not important. On the vertical axis, you have the element of urgency. There are tasks that are urgent, and there are tasks that are not urgent. So if you look at all the tasks that you can engage in your life along this grid of important and urgent, you see that you can have tasks that are important and urgent, or important but not urgent. And then you can also have tasks that are not important but they feel urgent. And there are tasks that are neither important nor urgent. The vast majority of us are not highly effective people, right? Wouldn't it be wonderful to live in a world where the vast majority of us were highly effective? It would be such a different world, but as it happens, we're not. Okay, so this is the trap that most of us fall into. Most of us who are not highly effective people spend the vast majority of our time and focus and energy engaged in tasks that are urgent, that feel urgent. And sometimes those urgent tasks are important, but a lot of times those urgent tasks are not even that important. They just feel urgent. So for example, answering the phone when it rings. You see, when the phone is ringing, it feels urgent, like I have to pick it up right now. And sometimes the phone call is not only urgent, it's also important. But how many times does it happen that when we pick up the phone, we get it talking, and it's neither urgent nor is it important, and we allowed that interruption of the phone call to disrupt something else that we were doing, break our flow and our focus from some other tasks that we were engaged in that were perhaps more urgent, or if not more urgent, at least more important. Or like if you're into watching live TV, you know, it's like, oh my God, the program's coming on right now. I have to watch it right now. But how often is watching TV an important activity that you're engaged in? So there are all kinds of examples, or washing dishes, or doing a lot of little big chores around the home. We can spend so much of our time and energy just engaging in these chores and going into deeper and deeper depth and the way that we deal with these things in our lives. Email, my God, the bane of so many of our lives nowadays. Email, how much time does that take up? Or if you're somebody who is into social media, my God, Facebook, Twitter. So all these tasks can feel urgent, but they're not always very important. They're usually not important. They're rarely important, but we spend so much of our time, energy, and focus engaged in these not urgent, not important tasks. And guess what? Because we all have limited time, we all only get to have those 24 hours in a day. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're the President of the United States or some homeless person, jobless person somewhere. We all get the same amount of time in our day. So every time you choose to do something, you're choosing not to do other things. Every time you choose to spend your time on Facebook or talking on the phone or watching TV, you're choosing not to do other things. So and insofar as these tasks that you are choosing to engage in are not important, what are you saying no to? You're saying no to tasks, to things that are important. And most of the time, the tasks that we end up saying no to, not consciously, but unconsciously and implicitly, are the tasks that are very, very important, but they're not necessarily urgent. And because they're not urgent feeling, we are able to easily ignore them and just kind of keep going on with our lives. And unfortunately, or fortunately, like depending on how you look at it, figuring out our life meaning and purpose is one of those tasks that is extremely important, but it's not necessarily an urgent issue, an urgent problem, or an urgent challenge that we need to solve in our lives. So we keep putting it off, we keep ignoring it. We pay the price, of course. Every decision that we make has consequences, and we have to deal with those consequences. But the point is that the consequences that you are dealing with of not focusing your time and energy on doing what you need to do to figure out your life meaning and purpose, the consequences of that are those consequences that you're intentionally choosing, or are they unintended consequences of your living your life in ways that are not as intentional as they can be? This is the sad part of this whole issue, is that for the vast majority of people, they're suffering this consequence of not living with the kind of inner peace and joy they want in their lives, not having the kind of enthusiasm for life, the sense of passion for life that they would love to have. They're living without it, but it's not a consequence that was intended, that they intended to produce in their life. It's happening because they just are, acting in ways that are not as thoughtful, that are not as intentional as they can be. to help them resolve this challenge, to help them resolve this issue. A lot of times people don't even realize this is the missing piece for why they're struggling in their lives the way they are, why they're not experiencing the kind of enthusiasm and passion, inner peace and joy in their lives that they want. So if you are somebody in that position, please don't do this to yourself. Don't do this to yourself. Look, you may have other issues in your life that are more urgent and important that you need to address first. And if that's the case, that's fine. Address those urgent, important things first. Like I can tell you, in the aftermath of my surviving child sexual abuse at the age of 8, for a long time, I had a more urgent and important problem that I needed to solve. And until I solved that problem, until I at least got it under control, I couldn't even begin to think about what my life meaning and purpose was. I couldn't. See, and that more urgent and important problem was the problem of learning to get control over my mental, emotional well-being. It's like I was living with the sense, like, if you're feeling angry and feeling hateful, feeling like struggling also with shame and guilt and blaming and judging yourself and others, and there's like this whole confusing mix that's causing so much hurt, so much pain in your life, in your mind. How can you think about your life meaning and purpose? It's like even the idea of living with joy is like out of reach. It's just like, oh my God, I just want the suffering to stop. I just want this pain to stop. So, yeah, look, if you have a more urgent, important problem like that you need to solve first, solve it. But once you have that under control, you see, so it's not so urgent anymore, then use your discernment. You'll know, like if you're listening to your feelings, I keep saying to you guys, your feelings are your friends. Your feelings are your friends. You need to pay attention to your feelings. So if you're paying attention to your feelings, you'll know when you're ready to shift your focus away from that issue onto the next. So if this is like a problem you're struggling with right now of lacking a sense of enthusiasm and zest and passion in your life, not having a clear sense of what your life is about, where you need to be going in your, where you need to be headed, and what, just all that kind of stuff, please pay attention to those feelings. Don't put it off any longer. You'll have to create the time to engage with this and take care of it. Because if you don't make it an intention, if you don't make deliberate effort to do this now, you will continue to find your life being consumed by those other urgent seeming but unimportant or not as important issues. And your life will just pass you by. So don't do that to yourself. Now the question is, if you're struggling with this, how are you going to be able to best help yourself eliminate the struggle and get the clarity you need on your life meaning and purpose quickly and easily, and or at least more easily and efficiently and effectively than otherwise? See, and I'll tell you, I've said this before and I say this again, that if you could have resolved this problem on your own, this issue on your own, you would have resolved it on your own by now. So if you haven't been able to resolve it already on your own, this is an indication that you need more help and support in addressing it and resolving it. So who are you going to go to for this help and support that you need? I just want to remind you, I'm a resource. I'm somebody that you can turn to get help and support on this. I'm really good at this, by the way. I'm like really, really good at helping people with this. So you know how to connect with me. Just go to my website at www.academyofthriving.com. Click on the Contact Us page and you'll see exactly how you can connect with me. And by the way, if you have the specific issue that you're struggling with, when you connect with me, let me know that this is a specific issue that you are struggling with. And you're also welcome to request a complimentary inner peace strategy session with me. Because in the inner peace strategy sessions, we identify the root cause of the problem that you're struggling with. We identify the solutions for it, and we even identify the next best steps that you can take to resolve that challenge and to implement the solution in your life. So if you want that, request an inner peace strategy session with me when you connect with me. All right? So until we connect next time, I wish you lots of peace and joy.